Welcome to the Caretakers, a show where we'll talk about what it means to be a caretaker on Earth. Whether we're intentional about it or not, we're all caretakers. We've been entrusted to take care of our family, our friends, our environment, and ourselves. We'll talk about strategies for taking care of yourself, mentally, physically, and spiritually. We'll talk about what it means to take care of others, from your neighbor across the street to the neighbor across the globe. This is going to be a journey of self-discovery and reflection, and we hope you join us as we strive to be the best caretakers we can be. Welcome back to the Caretakers Podcast. I am joined today by somebody that I'm honestly very honored and humbled to be joined by. He is a survivor of the genocide in Gaza. He's a father to two beautiful little girls, one of which was born in northern Gaza during this genocide. He's a Canadian citizen who's been living in Gaza since 2016, and many of us followed him and his brothers on social media during this assault on Gaza. I'm very excited to welcome Abdelrahman Kouta.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abdelrahman Kouta, but I am known Abdel Kouta on social media. I would like to thank my brother Basil here for having me today. And inshallah, we're going to share our stories and memories from Gaza, inshallah. I call it Journey from Gaza.
Journey from Gaza. Okay, so let's start with that journey growing up. So before any of the current situation that we're in now in Gaza, when you moved to Gaza in 2016, what was it like living there?
So Gaza was known all the time under siege. So when a person said before, the 2023 war, occupation or genocide, whatever, when somebody would say something like Gaza or Palestine, they would think, well, where's this guy going? Like, isn't there there's no such thing, not so many people know about it and stuff like that. But alhamdulillah for us, we used to go and come, visits there during the summertime, sometime during the school year. And, we get to study, we get to meet our relatives, we get to see people, we get to see the culture. So what has happened was we were able to know what Gaza was like before going there. So in 2016 or 2015, I finished high school here and we decided to go there and study. So when I went there and I decided to go to study, I was young. I wanted to learn the culture. I wanted to see more of what's going on. And subhanAllah, at that time that I went in 2015, at the beginning of 2016, Gaza was being rebuilt already.
Right.
So I got to experience Gaza being rebuilt from the war of 2014. And like Al-Shaja'iyya area, which I was in, it was destroyed. I got to see built home by home. Like everybody there at that time was busy with something called the Amar, so which is, rebuilding their homes and stuff like that. And that time, everything was nice. It was, they had an agreement and a little bit, a little bit the siege, just a little bit of things was able to come in to rebuild, not everything else.
Right.
Best people, we're always resilient in a way, finding ways to do things. For example, I want to be able to, go to school, right? Well, it was difficult because most schools were bombed, stuff like that, destroyed. So they would, go to, move to another area, like in the same city, but move to an area with a relative in order for their children to go to school. To open like a market, anything like that, it would be on the street. In order to people to come together and continue from what has happened from the 2014. Yeah.
And so, one of the things that jump out at me at that answer is the desire for education. It's something that we've seen time and time again with the people in Gaza. Like you yourself, you said you went to go study there.
Yeah.
People will move to study.
Yes.
This is a very, very well-educated population and a group of people that value education in a way that I don't think we really understand living here in Canada.
Yes, that is so true. Because first of all, I'm going to say is that people outside of Gaza are privileged. I'll tell you that. Yeah. They are able to choose, I want to go to school, I don't want to go to school. I want to continue education, I don't want to continue education. People in Gaza's dream is to just have a degree. And they know that degree, they might not be able to work in it or work in that degree or in that field. But all they want to do is be educated. And most of the time, the people there financially are not well, that they're not able to provide their children or they provide themselves degrees to go to education. So if they can't do that 4th year, they will try to do a 2 year. If even they can't do that 2 year diploma, they will try to take certificates, to take courses, to take dawrat, we call in Arabic. Like I've seen so many people that thrive, that try. And when they get in, it's like they've got $1 million. It's like they've won something so big, so valuable that they don't want to lose it. So when it comes like almost like I remember when it comes to exam times, you don't see these kids on the streets. You don't see these kids walking around or playing around because they know that their parents are sacrificing so much in order for this child to be educated, and he got other siblings that they gotta be fed, they gotta be clothed and stuff like that. So I would say 75% of people it would be hard financially for them to go to school, to go to uni, to go to college. But alhamdulillah, they thrive. And when they thrive, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be like, you want this? Here you go. And this at the same time, there's a majority of people after graduating, they don't get to be able to work in that field, which something is really sad. Wallah, this is something really, really sad. This is something really sad. So most of the people now are trying to do stuff like through freelance, through online and stuff like that, even though that is a little bit hard. But wallah, the people of Gaza try. And there's so much successful stories that I have a friend that mashallah is so successful right now is in Egypt, alhamdulillah. He was able to evacuate, that he was able to build something from scratch, from being able to just live on like $300-400 a month, and then opening a business for graphic design and stuff like that, even though his degree was something else related, not even close to graphic design or multimedia and stuff like that. Yeah, and alhamdulillah, subhanallah, people, wallah, they try. The people of Gaza try so hard. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, the perseverance is something that we've heard and we've seen time and time again.
Yeah,
in Gaza. I remember seeing the brother who was defending his master's thesis in the tent in Rafah. Did you see that?
Yes, that is so true. Yeah, yeah.
It's incredible, the dedication they have to education. So you talked a little bit about your people's dreams to learn and to study. What about your dreams? When you moved there, what were you hoping for you and your family?
So for me, when I moved there to Gaza in 2015, 2016, I wanted to be an engineer, but I did not really focus program, electrical, this, that, But then when I saw Gaza being rebuilt, and stuff like that, I knew something was going to come eventually. What happened 2014, it can happen again. But I'm like, this time I want to be the person that will rebuild Gaza with them. So I chose architect engineer.
Okay.
And I went through that field. And it was something like, the knowledge they had, everything they had, even though they're in Gaza, we learned it in English. And my classroom, or the people that were at first year, it was, general engineering. So we had like around 2,000 students. And then it was, and then اتخصصنا. So I went to architect. And we were only 20 students. 5 of them were from the north, including me, myself and my brother. Around 7 of them were from Deir al-Balah and Khanounis, and the other part was from Rafah. So imagine the people from Rafah had to come to the north. It would take them, by bus or by car, whatever, like around an hour and a half, just to come and go every single day. So, and it would cost them like the muwasala, the transportation would cost them a lot. Would cost them half of something a general labor guy would work and do. So that's how much they had to put in order to learn. And I was like, subhanallah, like they're coming from all over, from all around, Gaza, like Gaza Strip, from the Rafah side to Beit Hanoun, all the way to the Islamic University of Gaza or the Azhar University of Gaza. It was something nice to see something like that, to be honest. I'll tell you that.
Dedication.
Yeah.
Now I want to ask you about the siege itself. And so, we talked about the siege sort of impacting your life. I'm curious how on a day-to-day basis you feel the impacts of the siege when you're living in Gaza.
We can feel the siege 24/7. We can feel it all the time. Because it came at times where the border was closed. So it came at times in 2015, 2016. In order to get in, you had to wait like a month, 20 days for like at the Egypt side to get in. And then the same thing, you wanted to leave, you had to go through Tansig, you had to, wait your time. And people waited, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, even 7 months in order just to leave at that time. And then everything, alhamdulillah, got a little bit well between, the Gaza government and the Egyptian government, and they found a way to come in and out. But the siege inside of Gaza itself, you would have 8 hours of electricity coming and going. So if it would be 2 p.m., I would have electricity from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. and then would come off, khalas. And then it would come the next morning at 6 o'clock. And then you have from 6 a.m. till 2 p.m.
It's unpredictable too.
Yes, it's unpredictable, but you got 8-hour shifts. You know it's going to come for 8-hour shifts, right? So imagine you're doing all of this, and at the same time, in the back of your head, okay, today there's electricity. Tomorrow there isn't. In the evening there's electricity. So I would have to work around electricity. That's one. Two, with water, because mainly water. So water would come every other day or every 2 days or every 3 days. And we would know when it comes, we had to, turn the motor on in order to get the water on top of into the big buckets, baramil.
Yeah.
So the part is that imagine that you got to connect between the electricity and what?
Water.
And the water. But if that doesn't go well and you don't get this with this, so people, gotta think outside the box. Again, they will bring motors that will pump the water up, get electricity. And if they don't have gas for that, gas or diesel, they would turn into the propane gas for eating, the propane tanks, and they would put it onto that motor. And yeah, it was like so much stuff, even things for like transportation. Like sometimes people didn't have financially or just couldn't, go to the beach. Well, they would walk from where they are to the beach just to go there.
Right.
خلاص, I want to do that. My desire is even to go to the beach. My desire is even to, pump water. My desire to do something. I won't wait for it to come to me like, I can't. خلاص. It's not in my hand. There's no water. There's no electricity. There's no this. There's no that. No. We thrive. We try. We fight. I came from here. I didn't know. Okay, just turn the tap on. Water comes in. Hot water comes in. No. For them, it was different. They had to go and turn something called the sakhan, the
heater.
The heater, in order just to get hot water. It's so much stuff that you have to go through, and they're living it, and they have accepted it. رضينا رضيوا بالمر والمر ما رضي فيهم. They have accepted it, but society still has not accepted because they're human being like everybody else. Yeah, that's something that it was a big thing. Even transportation, most of the time they don't do transportations on cars. Yeah. They have still back in the days donkeys, horses, something called a tuk-tuk, which it had a 3-wheel. I went there and I'm like people in Gaza see the world. We see the world through our social media, through Instagram, through Facebook, through Snapchat. We see the world through everything, and we have all those apps. It's not like we don't. The internet. With internet, we see everything. But, khalas, we're not able to get what you're getting because it's not allowed to come in. For example, how do people turn the light at nighttime when there's no electricity? They would use the batteries. You see the battery of the car?
Yeah.
So those batteries, they would be able to charge it when the daytime comes in through the electricity. If they don't have electricity, they would be able to charge it to the solar panel. So we would thrive to find different ways. And then at nighttime, we would use it all of nighttime. And then we'd bring the bigger battery, like a 100-volt battery, and we'd be able to turn electricity, like turn on a fan or turn on charge phones or even light or even sometimes an LED TV and stuff like that. So slowly, we're trying to be closer to the world in our ways. Like I'll tell you this, when I used to go back home as visits in 2008, they didn't have those batteries. But eventually, slowly, going there, they would find ways and try to live better. Find ways and try to live better. Find ways and try to live better. This was something I saw from 2016 till 2023. Gaza did change. And the people of Gaza do change for the better, for the good. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that I think a lot of us learned by watching people in Gaza online.
Mhm.
You know, the same way you say you were watching what's going on in the outside world. I think
Mhm.
people were looking at people in Gaza and thinking like, how do these people persevere through everything? And one of the phrases that became very popular is Gaza taught us life. And you might have heard that before. And it's this idea that no matter what is going on, no matter what the conditions that are being put on you, no matter how horrible the siege is, how draconian it is, you still find a way to live. And you still find a way to live not in a way where you are resentful or in a way where you are questioning, the judgment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you're living in a way where, like you said, radi, you've accepted it, and you're going to make the most out of the life that you have in the circumstances that you're in. That's something beautiful about the people of Gaza that I think everyone has noticed now. I remember where I was when I first heard the news about this particular conflict. Do you remember what you were doing when you found out?
So, to be honest, I was asleep. I'll tell you that because
Yeah,
it was early in the morning. But before I get into this topic, I wanted to say that since me being in Gaza 2015, 2016,
yeah,
conflicts kept going on.
right.
So it would happen like for 3, 4 days. And then everything would be shut down. Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
allowed to leave. Nobody's allowed to go anywhere. People stay home. So it would be every single year. But since the 2014 till like 2018, خلاص, it was like almost, they did too much destruction. So they're like, let it calm down. And Gaza was being rebuilt. And then from 2018, it started again.
Mm-hmm.
2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, until 2023 came. And people saw that even in 2019 and 2021, they went back to destroying big, big, big buildings. Yani the biggest buildings in Gaza are starting to be destroyed. And what else?
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yani the biggest buildings started to getting destroyed. Yani they knew it was coming. خلاص, they knew it was coming. So at that time, before, like even by a year, it was a big situation. At that time, khalas, I was, I had, I was working late because I was doing a couple of freelance jobs. So I was sleeping in and I'm like, khalas, it's like every single other time, they're gonna have this conflict, maximum 2, 3 weeks, and then it's gonna be over, and then we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna go back to our lives. And we just slept on that, to be honest. Khalas, we're like, okay, as soon as we heard the conflict, the noises in the air, the bombing, the stuff like that, we're like, khalas, everything's gonna stop. Like I had this talabiya, this to send stuff. Like I had a small business from home,
Mm-hmm.
and I would like it was a small online business, and I would people, they would order stuff and I would send it to them, and I'm like, khalas, you know what? I'm not gonna be able to give it today. We'll just after when it's done. And as I said, we slept on it. We're like, khalas, we're just gonna wait until it's it's over, and it's only gonna take maximum 2, 3 weeks, like every single time, like every single conflict.
Right.
But unfortunately, that was not what has happened. Yani,
Mm-hmm.
it's been
And
8 months.
was there a moment where you realized this was different?
Yes, the moment I realized it was different was once they have said everybody evacuate to the south, because usually they never say that,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody can trust, and people start evacuating. And for me, to be honest, the way I see it, when I was there, when I saw the UNRWA leaving to like under 40 days, I'm like, something bad is gonna happen. So that's one. And two is when we heard they're coming closer and closer and closer. Like I'm in Gaza, I'm in Al Shaja'iyya area, and then I can hear them. They're like in the Al Zatoun area, and then they're like the tanks are coming in, invading the ground. They are in the Tel El Hawa. They are in Netzarim. They are in Khashum and Beit Lahem and those areas. So when I heard they're coming in, I'm like, khalas, you know what? This is something really, really bad's gonna happen, and I have to leave to the south. But at that time, I'm like, I still had hope. It's gonna finish.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna finish. It's gonna finish. We're gonna go back. Everything's gonna be okay. And I stayed in the north around more than 40 days, more than 45 days.
Yeah. And during this period, I mean, you grew up, you were born in Toronto, you're a Canadian citizen. did you have any thought to call the Canadian government, Global Affairs Canada, and see what they could do to help?
To be honest, my siblings have called. My
Yeah.
sister has called. My brother has called. And I thought, khalas, they've called, like, they know the situation and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
what I heard from before is that as soon as you call, they'll let you out. And I thought I was privileged. To be honest, I thought I was privileged. I was able to leave anytime.
Yeah.
And the people in Gaza were not allowed to leave. So, yeah, I'm like, I'm privileged. I can leave, but it'll finish. And to leave, at the beginning we didn't know how bad it was and stuff like that, so we didn't know what to do, because I'm gonna tell you this, it was the first big war from 2014 that I have saw. So
Mhm.
when I was there, I was asking everybody around me, guys, was the 2014 war bigger or is this war bigger? And they were like, bro, 2014 is nothing, 2023 is nothing close to what has happened in all the wars previously. I'm like, so now I'm considered one of you guys, I've seen something big. And they're like, yeah. And they're like, Allah yustur min اللي جاي. From what's even gonna come. So until that time, no hospitals were invaded and stuff like that. So we're like, okay, if somebody had to give birth or somebody was injured or something like that, there was still a hospital. There was still humanity. Everything was still, as what we thought it would stay and it would be. So that's why that time, we're like, it might finish soon. It might finish. It might be over. So yeah.
Right. And I'll give you my perspective as from us here in Canada. So early on, we realized that this was going to be different. And a lot of us were working to push Global Affairs Canada to move faster, because we had seen what they did for everybody else. We'd seen what they did in Ukraine. We'd seen what they did out of Tel Aviv and the planes they sent. And we were saying, Justin Trudeau, when you were elected in 2015, you were on your way to Gaza, but we were here. And his election speech, he famously said, a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian. And so we were calling our MPs and we were saying, do you still believe a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian? Why are these people still that want to get out of Gaza still there? And so to hear it from your perspective as well is it's honestly, it's very difficult to hear, because you have people from both sides that are trying to get in touch with the government that is supposed to represent them. And to the point where we were collecting people's information and putting it in an Excel spreadsheet so that we could send it to our MPs to say, these are the Canadian citizens you've left behind in Gaza. And we still didn't see movement. And to today, we still don't see movement. It's incredible.
That is true. I'll tell you that. When I was there and after leaving to the south, so when we called, they're like, first go to the south, which is safe, But by that time, going to the south, it was difficult and it was hard and it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
So we're like, is there any way that somebody can help out through an ambulance and they could take us from the north to the south? And they're like, no, you got to go there on your own risk.
Yeah.
So, for me, I was waiting, for my wife to deliver so I can
Right.
go to the south. That was the only thing I was waiting for. And it took a while and I wasn't able to go. But when I went to the south and I made it to the south in a really, really hardship, matter like I've never imagined. Sometimes I wished I was dead, instead of, going through this whole phase. That's how hard it was. And then when I reached the south and we didn't even know we were going, I called and I put all the family's name under one file, the whole family's name. Like me, my brothers, our wives, my wife, my brother's wife, our children, my mother, my siblings, everybody. And unfortunately, after 3 weeks, okay, it's okay, needed 3 weeks and you need to paperwork, do this, do that. Okay, we get it. But me and the 4 Kouta brothers, our names weren't out with them.
Mm-hmm.
And even I called, I'm like, you let my wife, my daughters, are not even Canadian. I'm the one who's Canadian. They're coming on my behalf. My sister, they're going out. Where's the humanity of leaving half of us and letting half of us go? How does that make sense? How's my wife that's never been outside of Gaza and she's going to leave me and go? And then you know what? I've tried. I've even left to the border on the Egyptian side. I'll tell you this, I've left and I saw the ambassadors there and everything. And before that, I've called. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, we called the SOS. What am I? They're like, you know what? Go and try. Try your best. If you get to Egypt, we'll happily take you out to Canada. But if you're in Gaza, in Gaza, it's not much we can do about it because it's a conflict between Egypt and the Israeli side and the Gaza. So they're like being like they're the fourth side. They have to get through all of them. So they're like, at least we can get the children and women out. And we went there, and the Egyptian side wouldn't let us out, and we got news that it was from the the Israeli side that they wouldn't let the men leave. So I'm like, okay. And they're like, just try and go. So I tried, give them passport, everything, and then I thought I was gonna go. And my brain, khalas, churned into like, what am I gonna do now? How I'm gonna start providing my family? How am I gonna go, find rent? How I'm gonna go and help them out? How am I gonna go, find a job? Coming from Gaza, didn't have a وقت to like time to grieve, and I have to go back to the system. I know I have to go back to the system. Like I know that. And the funny part was, after waiting, I'm like, Mom. She's like, yeah. I'm like, whose names are left? Like, whose passport is left? She's like, oh, you and your brother. And as soon as he said that, I'm like, oh, okay. It makes sense. خلاص sadness inside of here. And, I was the one supporting my wife. And if I showed sadness, if I showed, suffering and all that, she would give up. So I went to the side, on a side. And wallah, I'm like, خلاص, I'm going to be sent back. Like, don't forget me wrong. I don't want to leave. I would rather stay, but I had to leave for my children, for my wife.
Right.
And it was just psychology like that. I wanted to leave, and at the same time I wanted to stay. And then, okay, I took the chance. I'm like, I'm going to try to leave, and then I'm going to be sent back. It's not like I'm going to be sent back to the tent. I'm going to be sent back to the school. I'm going to be sent, no washroom, nothing, no food. It was just so hard. I just started to cry. And then my mom is just seeing me all there from the back, and then she comes like, it's okay, I'm gonna come back with you. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna let you come back with me. And then even try talking to my wife. I'm like, khalas, go with my mom and try leaving. My wife is like, no, it's either we leave together or we die together. And I even like stayed there all night and trying to convince her and stuff like that. And she's like, we're leaving, we'll go back. And the next day, my mom leaves, my siblings, everybody, my sister, and we go back. I go back there, wallah, 2 days, and I'm like, like I could have left, they could have left, and I'm like back there, and and then I call them again, and I'm like, they're like, we're gonna evacuate you soon. We're trying our best, this, that. And since I went back, it was that moment. I'm like, khalas, you know what? This is my time. This is a message from Allah, a message of their behalf. This is a message for me that I went back to Gaza, that I need to send a message out. I can speak English very well. I can translate. I can speak Arabic very well. I have to start posting on social media, start posting videos, start sharing the message, start telling the world what is actually going on in Gaza from the way of me seeing it, from the way of the Palestinians seeing it, from the way as the people that are even able to leave to see it. Because I saw so many people trying to leave, and trying to like post, and they speak only Arabic.
Yeah.
And they could not get the message out. And I'm like, look, if they can do it, I can do it. Like, I was never a social media guy or anything like that. But Gaza changed that for me. Gaza that time changed that for me. And I got a little bit of courage from Prince Kouta, Ahmed, my brother. I'm like, if he can do it, you know what? I can do it. And then slowly, like everybody in the tent started, doing it. They started speaking Arabic, translating in English, and everybody started posting and sharing our message. Like I didn't start posting until like December. So like after 3 months, December, January, and still, we're like, khalas, I might not be able to leave. I might die any second. Something can happen. And I used to always say this in Arabic. I'm going to say it first. Ya Rab, if you إذا بدك تاخد الروح اللي حاططها في الجسد خدها. أما ما ترميني. I used to always say, Ya Allah, if you want to take the soul that you have put into this body, take it. If you want to take my children, take them. But please, Ya Allah, and I beg, I make prayer that don't leave me injured or wounded or anything like that, because life is hard, it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And from seeing, يعني, with your own eyes, people, and in this hard situations, يعني, lose an arm or lose a leg or lose half their body or whatever, and they're trying, يعني, in the tent, يعني, like they don't have like a disability, permanent thing like that. Like they're trying 10 times harder. Wallah, بدك تبكي, you just want to cry.
Mm-hmm.
You just, يعني, you don't know what will happen. Like, you can see him and you'd be like, that could be me eventually, soon. You never know. Anytime you can die. It can be your child. It can be your mother, your father, your sister, your relative, your friend. It can be anybody. يعني, it was, يعني, one of the scariest things that you can be put in.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk a little bit about, you mentioned it a little bit, but being a father, right? And obviously you had I think your daughter, your oldest daughter, is a little bit older than mine, but they're similar ages. And I saw a video of you, and I think it might have been at the border in Rafah, and you were hugging her and kissing her. And your other daughter was born in the north, in Gaza, before you made that trip.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that as a father you want to protect and provide for your children, right? Can you talk a little bit about, we hear a lot about the women and the children and the impact on them. What's the impact on the fathers in Gaza?
That's a really good question. The impact on the fathers, there's nobody that is not scared. I'll tell you that. There is nobody in the world that's not scared. But we as fathers, we cannot show that fear. We cannot show it. So all the fathers there, they would leave, even in the north, which it started, because, after 30 days, everything changed. You start have to, because as soon as the war came, electricity was cut off, water was cut off, nothing was allowed to come in, right? So the first month, people were buying and selling and things were getting expensive. So I'm a father, and all fathers in Gaza. So no more work, no more financial coming in. At the same time, you need to provide. Most people in Gaza, they got big families. They got 5 or more. And they need flour, they need food, they need to get water, they even need to get clean water, which is drinkable water. They have to pay for that. So slowly, you could see all the fathers, all the men there, in their eyes, wallah, they're scared, but they don't want to show it. Why? Because eventually he had to go in line, wait, just to get a parcel of bread. And then the time would be done, and then he would just go home, and he would have to go carry gallons. This was in the north. Gallons from a well, from any close well, and go on to the 4th floor, 5th floor, and put it into the tank. And then go and try to find something to charge a mini battery and a phone so they could be able to, turn it on at nighttime. I'm going to say for me, I could see my wife scared. My daughter didn't know what's going on. Even my sister children, my brothers, everybody, they'd be like, أنا خاف. يعني I'm scared. And I'm like, no, Baba, what we're scared of? No, إحنا ما بنخاف, we're not going to be scared. This is, don't be scared. I am here for you. And, we play around, and everything is going on. So they could forget. But even though, every time there was a bombing or there was an airstrike, I would be beside my wife and my child. At that time, my second child was not born. Automatically, I don't even know how. It's not even gonna make a difference. My hand would just go around them like this and cover them. Like this, beside me, like this, cover them. And you just be like, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Like, I would say even in my heart, because I didn't want to tell my wife, we might be dying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to.
So I would say in my heart, and then I would not show it, And at the same time, if the bombing was close, you could hear noise. You're going to be like, what kind of noise? People screaming. And this would be your neighbors. So at this time, my wife was scared. My daughter's scared. They're at home. And I would be like, I have to get out. I have to leave. It's the middle of the night or the daytime. Those people under the rubble there need help. It was me, my siblings, all of us. We would go there and we would help out. We tried to, take the rubble, take the rocks, everything, and we'd take people out. That was in the north. Ahmed, my brother, was a nurse, so we tried to go there. But me seeing Ahmed there as a nurse helping out, and then me seeing Mahmoud there, carrying people, wounded, dead, whatever, I would step just a little bit back and be like, because you never trust it could be another airstrike in the same place.
Yeah.
So as much as I wanted to help out, I would go back and I'd be like, at least one of us can stay alive to help the rest of the family. So I won't just go back and be like, two of my siblings are helping out, so we don't lose all of them. That was something that I was, put in a situation. Can I help them? Or should I still help the family? Like, at least have one man to help out my wife, his wife, anybody, if something happens to them, because we never know what will happen anytime. And that would be the fathers. And there were so many fathers, wallah, that I was there in the north. They would come up to me and be like, I can't find bread. I'm not financially well. I don't have anything. There's nothing. Even before doing like a GoFundMe or anything like that. And I'd be like, here you go. Do this, do that. Because I was from Canada. So, I started sharing, if anybody would be able to help out. And that's what I felt I could do in the north. And I would send a text message, be like 20 people are living, in a home, 15 families, stuff like that, because people are coming from like other families and going beside each other. And then I would know this family is in need. I would go, help them out without even, them even noticing. Because the people of Gaza, people are not understanding this. في عندهم عزة نفس. He would rather die and not you.
Sorry,
It's
just to translate for someone listening in English, عزة نفس is like they have like dignity. They have like, it's not easy for them to accept charity or to.
Yes.
So, sorry, G.
Yes. So most people don't understand that. But it's the situation that we have been put in. Wallah, it's after 4 or 5 months that people have been put in this situation. Yani seeing their kids dying, their babies dying, diapers reaching $100 and paper formula and stuff like that. They are put in this situation. But wallah, from me seeing the people in Gaza and being with them, they would rather die with dignity than being somebody ايش الكلمة ان في العربي حد يتمنن عليهم. In English it's if you can help me out here.
Like if somebody were to I'm thinking of it too here. If somebody were to, I can almost describe it. إنه حدا like لهم فلوس as if they're below them or they're less than them.
ايوه بالضبط. Or at the same time, like them have waiting in those lines to get an aid if they would be able to get it.
Right.
Like waiting in that line, wallah, you could see like everybody's just, all these men are about to cry. يعني the like كيف أقولها? It's hard, wallah. Like people have not faced it, but it's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And that like I want to work. I want to be able to provide. I want to be able to do this. I don't want anybody's charity. But then when people, ask $5,000 in order for them to leave, or ask this or ask that, people had to not to get charity, but they had to find a way in order from the rest of the world that have humanity and are human, in order to help out for the people just to stay living. Because I'm supposed to be allowed to leave like any other person, but it's not me who put in that I have to pay $5,000 to leave. Mm-hmm. So now the world has to help out, because you guys are seeing what's right. And if you honestly have a right heart, you would help out without me even have to say or describe or to ask.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's something that I wanted to say.
I want to go back a little bit to, you talked about that journey from north to south. And I would say for us watching here, that was some of the most difficult footage to look at. I remember seeing images of thousands and thousands of people all walking in the street. We saw videos of moms dragging their babies in car seats. My mom made a similar trip in 1968 when she was born in Nasser Hospital. And she was about a month old when they left when they left Gaza and they were forced out at that time. And just seeing the reaction from her of seeing those images broke my heart, because it was like, we're still dealing with the same thing this many years later. It was like watching images of, sometimes they take old movies and they add color to them and they bring them forward. It was like watching images of the Nakba as if we had Instagram at that time and seeing it in real life. You experienced it yourself. What can you tell us about that trip that we wouldn't know from what we've seen online?
So I'm gonna say is that being in Gaza during this genocide, two of the hardest parts for me, or the hardest moments, were two parts. I'm not gonna tell you death was one of them, no, because خلاص وكلنا أمرنا to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because there's the ayah saying يدرككم الموت لو كنتم في بروج مشيدة. If you can translate that in English, if you know.
I won't know the exact details, but basically death will reach you, even if you were basically very well protected.
Yes.
I don't know the exact wording, but
So for me, the two hardest situations when I was there, and for every single person it's different. I'll tell you, brother Basil, for every single person it's his own story. For me, one of them was leaving the north, my home, and going to the south. That's one. The second one is how my wife was gonna give birth to my daughter, and especially if she gave it at nighttime. So those were the two hardest situations I went through. I did not tell you going through food, or through not finding food, or through dying of hunger, or through the cold, or through the death. No, those are the two. Why? The first one is because after the people of Gaza building everything from scratch, and I told you we're in a siege, nothing is being able to come in. When you get something, like people in Canada or people around the world, when they buy a car, they're happy. When they buy sunglasses, they're happy. When they have a vacation, they're happy. The people of Gaza, when they are happy, they're happy when their son's married. They're happy when they are able to get a battery, 100-volt battery, in order to turn electricity into the home so their kids can study and their children can see. They are happy when they go to a gathering, to somebody's wedding or something like that. They are happy when Eid is coming. They are happy when Ramadan is coming, when they can give, when they can help out. They are happy when ضحية, they can اعمل عيد ضحية, and slaughter the cows and give in the sake of Allah. That's when the people of Gaza are happy and most happy. They're not happy when they're buying a home or buying a car, or achieving those goals that people are dreaming of. No, they're happy when my brother has graduated, when a wedding in the Aila, okay, now we're gonna be bigger of a family and stuff like that. That's when they're happy. Like stuff that they can be able to feel, they can be able to sense, touch, it would make a change. Stuff like that. Because people in Gaza, not all of them have cars or motorcycles, or or even have jobs or degree, or like working in the degrees and stuff like that. So I just wanted to remember what we were getting on.
Just about that trip.
Yeah.
Walking from north to south.
So leaving, wallah, when we were leaving, we debated for 5 days. 5 days debating, everybody in our street. Everybody, our uncle, grandfather, relatives, friends in that street, we're debating. Should we go? Should we not go? Should we go? Should we not go? Should we go? Should we not go? Should we go? We had bags ready, everything prepared. And I'm saying, why 5 days? Because it's 5 days leaving after my wife gave birth. That's why I said 5 days. So it took us 5 days. So I'm like to them, I can't leave right now. Let you guys try to leave, and I will try to come back like after just give me like 3-4 days in order for her to be able to walk, my wife. But the funny part, it wasn't even just about my wife. It was about me. I just couldn't.
Mm.
Wallah, I just couldn't. It was that connection. It's just so hard. Yani, like, it's not where I'm gonna go. It's not what's gonna happen to us. Wallah, it's like, I don't want to leave. Not
You have
now.
a connection to the land itself.
It's the connection to the land. It's like, يعني I found ways to pump water to find this. يعني I brought a little bit of food, 2 bags of flour. And يعني if anything would happen, يعني like I'm ready to stay even more. يعني thinking about it, I would just cry.
Mhm.
And my wife, I'm like, she's like, I'm not gonna go without you. I'm gonna stay here. I'm staying here with you. And then day after day after day after day, the 5th day, our home, our neighbor home, demolished. Inside of it, we're taking shelter, my relatives and my cousins. I had a cousin that passed away, was just walking. He wasn't even in there, just walking. He passed away. And my relatives got injured, badly wounded, and they're disabled. They cannot walk no more. And each one of them has a family and they have kids. So there, it was like khalas, it's either stay and die or you have to leave now.
Mhm.
And that was one of the hardest moments. Wallah, like we had stuff, bags prepared, like you couldn't carry anything. Like you had to just carry your daughter and whatever you had on you. We left everything we had. We went. We took those, my relatives under from the rebel. It was like, I still remember them. One of them was Ala, one of them was Rafiq, their name. One of them name is Ahmed. 3 of them we took. They went to the hospital. Imagine they went to the hospital the day the hospital was invaded as well.
Mm.
And at the same time, the whole street was like, khalas, half of us were like, we're leaving. And I could see everybody leaving. We went to our grandfather. We're like, you have to leave. Khalas. He's like, no, I'm dying here. He's 82 years old. Like, I'm not leaving. I'm dying here. And when a man stays, his wife, his daughters, his kids, they'll be like, I'm staying with you, father. I'm not leaving.
Mhm.
It's either we die together or we leave together. It's not a lot of people that some of them would leave, some of them would stay. But as a Palestinian, as people from Gaza or from the West Bank or from Tel Karam or Jenin and stuff like that, they will not leave. I'll tell you that. If they had anybody, their first relative, they would not leave. They will not leave. Because that's how much they're attached to that land. That's how much they've built that land, brick by brick, concrete by concrete, wall by wall, door by door. Well, I've seen people in my own eyes being able to build something 30 meters, 25 meters, 70 meters, something so just a bedroom and a kitchen. It would take them 5, 6, 7 years. Every year they would build something. Them leaving it is not easy, wallah.
Mhm.
Or buying that land, or staying in that land, or staying there in the same place, in the same neighborhood for 82 years. But khalas. And we knew if we leave, we don't know when we're going to come back. We knew, we had that feeling inside of us,
Mhm.
All of us had that feeling. So what happened was, we decided to leave, My brother Muhammad and Mahmoud left before us on a horse. And then it was me and my mother and my sister and my siblings. They're here with us, alhamdulillah. And then my khala, my aunt, would tell my mother. Like we convinced my mother to leave, even though it was so hard. Yani she just came there and she just wanted to stay there, and her sisters and her brothers, and she lost her brother there, and I lost, my aunts. I lost so many friends. I'll tell you, I lost my barber. I lost the person I was working with. Like so many people. Yani I would name over 20 people. Yani I lost from just being close to me. So Allah yarhamhum, may they grant them heaven, inshallah. So what has happened is that we left together. I remember me carrying Nasreen, my older daughter. She was 2 years, and I don't know, 6 months, 4 months, something like that. And my wife, she had to carry the baby only 5 days. And, she only gave birth, for 5 days. And we're going to continue sharing the story how she gave birth. And we started walking. Nothing with you, not allowed anything. Water, nothing. And the heat is so hot, and the sun is there. And you're walking and looking back. You're walking and looking back. You would walk 2 steps and look back. And then we would see my aunt during my aunt, and she would tell my mom, "Where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do in the south? What's there for you? Yani, don't leave." That's how they're attached to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yani, she wants her to go be safe. She's like, at the same time, no, don't go. Stay with us. We're here and stuff like that. And wallah, that time me waiting on those, we called them the hajjis because, you had to have the Hawiya out like this, your
Hajj is
passport,
like a checkpoint,
the
basically.
checkpoint. Yeah, it was a checkpoint. I had to have the Hawiya out like this and carrying my daughter and carrying just a bag, and my wife carrying a bag and carrying her Hawiya, and then waiting, for them, to check if you are allowed to leave or not. Wallah, seeing those, snipers on the side, the military, the IDF military on the side and stuff like that. Wallah, I'm like, if I would die right now, it would be like much easier. I would feel like much happier. That's how bad, yani, that's how much suffering we felt. Yani, it's like they're trying to, yani, take away our dignity, take away our land, take away what's ours. Yani, it was so hard. Yani, we did not even think of where we're going to be thrown,
Mm-hmm.
where we're going to go. No, we thought of what we're leaving behind.
Right.
If another yani person in this situation, he would be like, he would forget what he had and he'd be like, where am I going? And it took us time, wallah, it took us time, with all these people just walking and walking, thousands and thousands of people walking together in one line, don't know where they're going every single day from 10 to 2. That's the time that they give them to walk, or else you'd be shot. Walking and walking and walking, wallah. I've never cried in my life, crying this much and from the inside of me. You know how the heart cries?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I was crying. And then eventually I just started crying, I would, move a step forward where my wife was behind me by a step, and my mother, my sister were behind me. I didn't want to show. I didn't want to show this weakness of me crying. But you just couldn't. You just couldn't. However strong you were, you just couldn't. Because I chose to come back to Gaza. I chose to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
I chose to get an education from Gaza. I chose to build a life there. I chose to open a family there. Most people, maybe you've heard this, Brother Basil. They're like, whenever, 40 or 50, we want to go back to, our land and try to, stay there and settle there and try to, go back to whatever we had. We just want to make a little bit of money, get our kids better education, stuff like that. But I'll tell you this. Wallah, they are lying to themselves. They are lying to themselves. Anybody who has this plan of saying, one day we will go to an Arab country, you'll not. You want to know why? Or to the Middle East, you're not. Because wherever you go and you Isra there, wherever you go and you farm there, you what's Isra in English?
Plant
wherever
the
you
seeds.
go there and you plant, that's wherever you will get the thamar, you will ever get the fruit of what you planted. You plant a tree in any country, that's where you're staying, bro. You're not going to go anywhere else. That's why people, they are just, I'll tell you this, I'm sorry to say this, but they are lying to themselves. That's why I heard so many people that are 50 years old, my dad's age, and stuff like that. And they said, I want to go there. And I'm like, when are you going to go there? If you can't do something while you're young,
Mm-hmm.
while you're a man, while your kids, you have these memories you can enjoy, you're telling me you want to go there when you're 50, 60 doing what? On just the Ukkaz, just sitting there beside the sidewalk, because that's where mostly big old people are going to do. Because, as a people from Palestine or Gaza, I'm not going to put my father or mother in a healthcare center or whatever to take care of them. I'm going to take care of them myself.
Right.
So for us, we decided to go there to build something and to be. And wallah, we were building and we were making a change. Even everybody in Canada were like, where did the Kouta family go? Like all of a sudden they've went there, and we had friends. They're like, wow, you guys are doing something that we couldn't do. No, please. If you can go there, anybody can do it. You just have to try. You just have to try to live what they're living and try to, communicate with what it's going on. And I'll tell you this. I didn't want a fancy degree, even though I graduated from Banting with a high GPA. I didn't want a fancy degree, with any university, stuff like that, because it's me that wherever I built on, it's me, wherever I can do, it's you, how good you are in your field. People be like, come. Doesn't matter what
Right.
university you graduated from. So that's one. Second of all, is that I'll tell you this. Since the day that we went there, me and my brothers, we were trying to find ways to work with NGOs to be in Gaza and work in Gaza. So Ahmed was a nurse. He always wanted to find an NGO to help out with a nurse. Me as an architect, I've always wanted to find a way, even when I was before I graduate and after I graduate, to find a way to help the people of Gaza in an NGO. And I couldn't find that, I'll tell you that. It was hard to find that. Even though I was trying, I had a story behind it. I was trying myself, yani, my siblings, we were trying so hard, we didn't find it. But subhanallah, I'll tell you this, subhanallah. Like I said, when you want something and you try for it, when you thrive for it and you fight for it and you sacrifice for it, wallahi, Allah will be like, here you go. اسعى يا عبدي أنا أسعى معك. And this is what happened. So this Gaza war has changed a lot, that after that, people started coming to us and be like, the NGOs started coming and be like, here, do this, do that, be a part of our group, our community, and stuff like that. I'm like, subhanallah, where was this when we wanted it? You see what I mean?
Right.
So that's one thing. So I want to go back and continue. After going to that checkpoint, you know, the hardest moment in our time, and there's no going back, and you can never know if you can go back. The hardest time was when we finished from the checkpoint, walking for 5-6 hours, and it felt like we're walking like for days, because can you imagine walking and know you can die any second, like you can be dead, shot, whatever. So when we reached almost Deir al-Balah, we just looked at ourselves like this. So what now from here?
Right.
Where do we go? And then you can see, my mom in tears, my wife holding the baby, and she's like, everybody's crying, and then my siblings like, everybody looking like, and they're looking at me, and I'm like, it's not like I know where I'm gonna go in my head, but so I'm like, it's either we stay in Deir al-Balah or we keep going till we find a school. So I'm trying to call the people that have left, and they're like, oh, I'm in this school in Khanunis, but it's full. I'm in this school, but it's full. I'm in this school, but it's full. Until we found a school. It's named As-Salam. Subhanallah, it's named As-Salam school. And it was right beside the border. It's like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to send us there. Everything was full. Everybody's like, don't come here, it's full. We couldn't find a home. We couldn't find an apartment. We couldn't find anywhere because nowhere was safe. So we're like, just, go to a school. So we just kept walking and walking until we can find a car. We couldn't. We had to eventually find a truck. So we put everybody onto that truck. And that truck, because the gas was so expensive, we had to pay like 10 times what you ever had to pay. Like if you would pay like 100 shekel, 50 bucks just to go there from Deir al-Balah to Rafah, we had to pay like, $300-400 to go there. So everybody went on to that truck, and whoever could find a car went to the car. And then there was no space for me, no room. So I'm like, you guys go ahead and I will catch on. You go ahead and I'll come back. And wallah, I just went on to the end of a truck and I just held on. Wallah, I've held on for 10 minutes and he's driving and he's fast. And I'm like to the guy, I'm like, knock on his window from the pickup truck from the back, because it's like a big, truck. And I'm like, I'm gonna fall. I'm like, wallah, bro, I'm gonna fall. And the guy's like, bro, I'm gonna jump, I'm gonna get hurt. I didn't get hurt in the north. I didn't get hurt in the way. I'm gonna get hurt now. Bro, I need the strength,
Right.
I don't know where I'm going to. And I'm telling that in Arabic. And the guy's like, okay, wait, keep holding on until like the next light. I'm like, the next light? And wallah, I'm holding on like this. My feet are like dangling down. And I'm like, is this it? Is this it?
You
is this
survived
it?
all of this,
And then a bus stop comes and I just jump. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna walk to the north, to the south. I'm gonna walk to Rafah. A walk you need all day, and you're not even allowed to walk. And wallah, I'm just gonna walk. That's it. This is me. I'm just gonna walk. Wallah. There's no cars. I went to the point. I exceeded the point that there's no cars anymore. So what has happened is that I walked. Wallah, I'm walking. And then I asked for some guy, he had water. I'm like, I'm بدي أشرب عطشان. And the guy's like, here. I'm like, I just want a sip of water. He's like, no, here and take it. I live right here, it's close. Just take it. And I'm like, okay, so I know somebody here. Should I continue and stay or should I go? And then I'm like, if I stay, there's no signal here. I'm not gonna be able to connect to them. Be like, I'm gonna stay in there, balah, and then and then go there. Okay, should I stay at the hospital and just sleep at the sidewalk or sleep at the mosque or whatever? And then I was like, no, no, no. They're waiting. I would put them in more fear, what has happened to Abdelrahman.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna walk. And when I was walking and walking and walking and walking, and then the big 8 trucks that you guys seen on the internet, on
Yeah.
social media that go and come, that have Jaro Majroor. It had the two trailers. I stopped one of the trailers. He was stopped, and I'm like, I look at him like I see you, and I'm like, I think this guy's going to the border, and the school that I'm going to is right beside the border.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask him, I'm asking. So this is his job. So in his job, he's not allowed to take anybody. He's not allowed. I ask him like, Akhi, brother, where's your way? He's like, to the border. I'm like, Wallah, I guess that. I know you're going to tell me no, but I'm going to ask anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way you can, I can just jump on the back of one of those trailers and you can take me all the way to the border with you? Because the school I'm in is beside the border, 5 minutes walking. He looks at me like, he's like, where's your family? Where's the people? I'm like, everybody left. They're just waiting for me. He's like, you know what? Just hop into the front seat. Wallah.
Wow.
The guy's like, hop into the front seat. Like, here's water. And I'm like,
a
subhanallah.
VIP,
So yeah, so that's one thing I wanted to share, that, the people in Gaza, he could get fired.
Yeah.
But they had to work together. He's not going to leave me there. And I'm like telling him my story and he could see it. He's seen so much. So like me seeing a person there in the south helping this much, I'm like, Alhamdulillah, Ya Rab, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah that you have sent this person to have patience and to have, be, nice and be able to. And wallah, he took me all the way to front of the school. And the school just had to go walk like 500 meters and I'll be there. And then I asked him, like, just ask here to tell you where Madrasa al-Salam was. And as soon as we entered the madrasa, wallah, again, crying like, I couldn't eat or drink for 3 days. My zor, what's zor in English?
Throat.
My throat was so thick, I couldn't put anything down here because I was seeing people on social media in tents in schools. Now I'm like, no, inshallah, I'm not going to be like them. Inshallah, I won't be like them. Inshallah, Ya Rab, please, Ya Rab. We don't want to. And then when I see them and enter the school like that, and all the flashbacks on the people in the schools, well, I start crying. And then when I even went there, there was not even space.
Yeah.
Like we even had to fight just to put the women upstairs in a room. And then downstairs, wallah, downstairs, we slept on the ground for the first 3 days. Nothing. Huddled in all together, squeezed like this on the ground. At nighttime would get cold. We would just sleep there. And then after 2-3 days, we're like, what are we going to do eventually? This is taking long. We start knocking on the people that were living there. If you only have one blanket, my brother and sisters, auntie, uncle, just one blanket, just one bed sheet, just one pillow. And they'd be like, here. So we just kept knocking. And then we went to the market. We saw what we would buy, and we bought, we made this makeshift tent, and we started buying things to make this makeshift tent, and we start closing it from area by every single day. We would close one area until we made a place with 15 people. No, what 15? At the beginning it was 50. At the beginning it was 20 people, 25 people, and then we had to people had to leave, and it then became 15 people. But it was so hard even staying and living in that tent.
Yeah.
Wallah, it was one of the hardest times, but that taught me patience. It taught us sabr, patience and sabr. And if anybody would ask me, be like, what was the thing, or what was you would try to do, or that would make you try to live more or fight more, it would be patient, sabr. And we say, Ya Rab, arzuqna sabr Ayyub. That's all the sabr we need, because it's patience. You can do so much. And alhamdulillah, it's patient what is.
So it's crazy times that we live in with the advent of social media and how we can connect with people across the world. Because as you were describing the tent, visually I know exactly what you're talking about, because you were sharing it in real time. And so if anyone's listening to this or watching this and you want to see exactly what it is that you're talking about, they can go to your Instagram page, they can go to your TikTok page and see it's almost like you did, like, I remember you did like a tent tour basically. And
I did a couple of those.
and people in the back, and you can see exactly what it is that Abdurrahman's talking about. One of the things that I noticed you talk about a lot on those online videos was just the lack of privacy. And I think it's something that we don't think about often. Like we all, especially in Canada, like a lot of people live in quieter areas here in London specifically, and you don't really interact with other people unless you want to. What's it like going from living in your house with your wife and your daughter to, first of all, being separated from them? They're living in a different space, and now you're living with 20 or 25 people that you don't really know too well.
So that was يعني something really really tough and really hard. But we had to bond together as Palestinians and people from Gaza. So what has happened was people kept coming, right? And nowhere to go. And they would just stay in the tent that you're in. Even though there's no space, they would just stay. And you couldn't tell them no. Maybe if you're in Canada and you had somebody staying over, sleeping over for a day or two, you'd be like, bro, يعني خلاص يعني I want to see my life. No, you couldn't say no, bro. يعني you just couldn't. So what would happen was the women were upstairs, women, and kids يعني under 5. 50 people in a room. 50 people in a room. 50 women in a room. And they would be sleeping beside each other like this. No space. So when I was in the school, I didn't know how it was like. It was the first night. And I'm like, what from here? And you're all alone. You're all alone, khalas. We didn't know where to get water, drinkable water, even washable water, even this or that. Khalas.
Yeah.
How to get food, anything like that. Imagine going from being in a home. You already said, okay, I accept no electricity, no water. I accept everything expensive. I accepted how I was in Gaza. I accepted being in a siege for so many years. But at least, you can open the tap. At least, there you can find electricity once a day. At least you have internet, you have this, you have that. You're sleeping on a bed. You go there. The noise of the school around you. As like everybody, going to a school or to a playground or to a stadium and everybody's just talking and yelling. That's 24/7. So that's their 24/7, blah, 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 stuff like that. You can hear it. You can even hear it in the background, the videos. Yeah. You can hear it 24/7. A background is playing the whole school. Kids crying, people coughing, people desperate, people running, people yelling, people shouting. You can hear it. That's one. 2, there's a nana over you. Yeah. Almost 24/7.
So there's a nana, just to explain English, is the drones that fly over everybody.
Yeah, the
just
drones.
The sound from the drone.
The drones 24/7 on top of you, being like, it won't change, right?
And that's uncomfortable to listen to. Like if someone's listening to this, they're going to feel uncomfortable listening to that for 2 seconds. Imagine for 24 hours.
Imagine 24 hours. And that was it. The whole time. Maybe a couple of hours it would leave and you would feel it. You would feel your ear. What a relief. You would feel it. And the time that would be there, khalas, you would fear. You would just run. You would just be in a side. You try not to, talk, not to do this because, you want to stay safe. And at the same time, what's so funny is that we would have 5 blankets, 20 people, and it would be this. Sharing one blanket with 20 people. And at the same time, if we would lucky and get a bed or like a sheet or what's it called?
Mattress.
A mattress. We would call a mini mattress, like a sleeping bag. We would put 3 people underneath it, just put their heads on, and then the rest on the floor. And at the same time, it was so hard to use the washroom because in order to go from one washroom to another washroom, we had, I'll tell you this, we had 3 main washrooms downstairs for the men, and each washroom had 3 toilets. So I would go to the first washroom, full. I would go to the second washroom, dirty. I would go to the third washroom, and I would find one toilet that is a little bit clean, and I would have water. So I would carry, you could see in the videos, we'd carry water like this, just drinkable water. Sometimes we're able to use the washroom because we as Gaza people as Muslims, I'm gonna say we use water to clean ourselves. And as soon as me finding that washroom, I'll be like, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, ya Allah. Imagine, I'm not saying I got a car or got a ride somewhere. I'm not saying I got money. I'm saying I was able to, release yourself into Rajab. Like, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, ya Allah, ya Allah, Alhamdulillah. Wallah, the whole time, Alhamdulillah. I just hope next time I can find another washroom. That's it. Because you would go washroom from washroom from washroom. And at the same time, people in the school, they would try to, play, do this, do that. They would try to, educate each other, play and pray and sing, and so much stuff. They want to, fill their time because it's like almost a camp. So you couldn't just, khalas, go into the school and be like sitting there and khalas, you can't do anything. No, people would come in, go out. If people would go to the other area of Rafah, he would go to their Balah, he would see, صح, it's not safe anywhere you go, but you had to go and come. So that was also a hardship. And every single day, more people would be coming. More people coming, more people will be coming until people that be coming, like there's no room for you. People had to go beside the school, beside it, and make a tent there. So yeah, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. One of the things that I think is very difficult to even think about, and of course, what you're describing on an adult is very difficult. Mentally, processing it is very difficult. You shared a video of two little kids walking, one of them with a rope around his waist, and he was dragging water cans behind him. And the other one was holding an empty bowl looking for food. When you think about the impact that this experience is going to have on those kids that do survive this, what do you think is going to be the outcome?
That's a really good question. Why? Because two things. One is that this genocide, this war, this occupation, 2023 is different. Is different from every single time. Did you know that the people in Gaza didn't care to speak English as much, that in the war, they've learned English more than I would say any other time in their career because they want to send a message out. So especially those kids, I would see those kids posting videos, sharing what's going on and talking. I'm like, I know these kids. They never used to speak English. You know what? They never used to even like English in school sometimes because they were kids. Eventually when they grow up, they would learn it. But them speaking it, learning it, would made me so happy. And they would learn it themselves, learn it from other people watching. These kids taking the buckets, trying to fill up the water, taking the food, going waiting in line for a tikiyah. A tikiyah is where a group of people gather, they get financial help from outside, and they make food, big pots of food, and they was then distributed to the people in the camps, beside the tents and stuff like that. Being able to get that food and get that water. You know what these kids say? They don't think that, I was not able to get it. Oh, I am sad. No. They are happy that they were able to provide food and put there for their parents. Imagine, like whoever is hearing this, hear me out. As a kid, no school, nothing, no education, where I'm supposed to be. I'm going looking for water. When I find water, clean water, when I find food, fasulia, bazela, adas, like beans, rice, and bringing it to my family, he's got pride. I was able to bring something for my family. And from there, he learns what? How to provide for the family when he's young. How to look over the family when he's young. How to treat his sisters, to treat his younger siblings. How for himself, he got to be a man from young. So that there, yes, he would look like, I want to be able to ride a bike. I want to be able to learn. He wants all that. All the kids want. And I'll tell you this, in the school, the kids, the time that khalas, they were able to eat and if they have been fed, they would just, play all day. But when the time that they know there's food being distributed, they would go before the parents and go bring the food. It's a matter of time that they will grow up and they will know what has been in Gaza has made them stronger. And not just for kids, even for older people. For me, wallah, I was shy even doing a presentation when I was high school. That's how shy I was. To do like when I was a presentation time, I would just leave. I don't want to do presentations. I was never a social media guy. I would never wanted to interact, do this, talk to people and stuff like that. But when the war came and everything came, it changed me. It changed me. It changed everybody. Like, it changed so many people, and I've seen it to a better person, wallah. To like people be like, I'm not taking this for granted no more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking this for granted no more. Even the kids, they're like, now I feels like how not to go to school.
Yeah.
Now it feels like not to have a home. They're crying, they don't have a home. No, they're not crying for a bike. They're not crying for a phone. They're not crying for Wi-Fi or allowance. They're crying because their home is gone. They're crying because they know they're not going to go back. They're crying because they know they lost a mother. They lost a father. They lost a brother. They lost an uncle. They lost an aunt. That is what makes them stronger. And that's what the rest of the world is not understanding, or the IDF or the Israeli are not understanding. You are what's changing these kids. I'm not changing them. You're not changing them. It's you who's changing them. It's you, whatever you're doing this to these kids. You know, let me put it this way. So they tell you, we don't want any Palestinian in Gaza because we don't want them to grow up and, defend their land. But listen, if you gave them privileges and you gave them, food and financial help and everything, and they would live, they would forget that this was their land. But because you have them in a siege and you have them tightened and you have them, they can't do well, and you have half of them. It's either they lost an uncle or a father, a shaheed, or a mother, or this or that. What do you expect from a mother raising 4 children and her father has died? What do you expect from her? I'll tell you what to expect. You're going to expect this. Where's Baba? What happened to Baba? I want to see Baba. Baba met. How did he die? Where's my father? I want to see my father. I want to see my uncle. Where's my uncle? Who's this picture? Your uncle has, how did he die? He died this way. So it's inside of you, you know what? I want to fight for my land. And then they call you a terrorist just for that. Just for that. Yeah. So it's something that they don't see, that they are making what they don't want. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So that exact thing that you just described, early on November 1st, I was with a group that met the Prime Minister. Mm-hmm. And I explained to him that exact thing. I said, what you're doing right now, you're going to complain about in 10 or 15 years. And the same people that you're complaining about now, you did to them 10 to 15 years ago. And now they've grown up, and this is what they are. And the crazy part is, he understood that. And he was, I don't want to say he was fine with it, but they're not stupid. They know what this is going to do. It's politics at play. They understand the human aspect. That's the unfortunate part. It's politics and influence and imperialism, and it's a lot of these things that they understand that what they're doing is crushing people, and they're okay with that.
Wow.
That's the thing I realized in this whole. And I've talked to a lot of MPs here in London. I've talked to them, party leaders. I've talked to them all.
Wow.
It's what I realize is we think that sometimes they don't know. They're very well aware.
But they know.
They know.
They know.
So, I mean, you talked about purpose, right? Like when you talk about you finding your voice and sort of starting to use social media and not being who you were before, what you're describing is really just purpose, right? Is you found a purpose and you said, okay, before that, maybe my high school presentation I didn't really care that much. Mm-hmm. But now you have a reason to use your voice that is so much bigger than you. And I resonate with that, like when you say that, because this whole thing that we're doing right now, I started for this exact reason. Like when we sat down and talked about doing this, it was like, hey, I speak English. I know the issues. I know what's going on. I need to do anything in my power to try to put a stop to this and make sure it never happens again. And I think what's been beautiful about the reactions that we've seen from people is you have seen a lot of people who weren't involved before bringing what little they have. We're talking about people that have like 25 followers on Instagram sharing stuff and saying, if one of these 25 people sees this and it benefits, then I'm going to do it. And we've seen people bring together the most small things, but the effort that you're talking about that people in Gaza have, that's the kind of effort that we need to have outside of Gaza to say, okay, what can I do? I can't do everything. I can't go there, but you can do something, and you have to do anything. That's the message, I think, ultimately, is everybody has to find that purpose that you found and the people in Gaza found, and those little kids that went to go look for food found. And if we all do that collectively, then we can actually make change.
We will, and change will come. Want to know why? Because it's the first time while I was in Gaza and everybody in Gaza, we want to know what the world is thinking, what the world is seeing. I will tell you this. And at the same time, say when South Africa started to say that we want to take them to court, we were with South Africa when the Yemenis started to say that we're not letting anything come in from this side. We love the Yemeni people. So slowly, we are seeing the outside world, and we're seeing who is supporting and who's not, who's trying to be humanity and who's not, who cares and who's not, who's with and who's not. Yes, it's this only time me living and feeling that the Muslim Ummah has come together and has how am I going to say this? Has fallen under one thing, khalas, Gaza is a problem, Gaza is an issue, and we want to resolve it, we want to help it. There was a problem in Syria, we didn't get together as Muslims, countries from all over the world. Some things happened in Lebanon, in Libya, in Yemen. We just let it go. But this time, all of the Muslims are working together, even if they're posting, sharing, talking, helping financially, protesting, encampments, anything, they're helping together for one cause. It's really nice to see this ummah come together again, to work together. And when the ummah comes together and works together, they get stronger. Absolutely. They become stronger. One hand does not clap, but hands claps. And we used to always have this saying in Arabic in Gaza, الإيد لحال بتسقفش. So one hand like this doesn't clap. بس الإيدين بتسقف. So it means you and your brothers, so this is what my dad or like my uncle would teach us, or my grandpa, you and your siblings gotta work together, gotta always work together. That's how it makes change. And I will tell you this time, change inshallah is coming. But when it comes, we don't just want a ceasefire.
Yeah, of course.
We do not just want a ceasefire after sacrificing. I'm not going to tell you 30,000 people because there's a number of people that we don't know. I'll give you from my number, being in Gaza, over 60,000 people that are just dead right now. I'll tell you that. And those people haven't been sacrificed just for that. No. And I'll tell you this, over 250,000 people are injured and severely injured. And the rest of the people in Gaza are traumatized. So you're saying 2.6 million people have been severely injured, wounded, dead. Something has happened to them or lost something that they love. You're telling me after 8 months of this genocide, 8 months of this war crime, 8 months of this bombing, you're telling me it's okay, khalas, we just want a ceasefire? Khalas, go back to whatever you're doing? You know what? These couple of these land that we've destroyed, these homes, we'll build it for you? We'll get the Arab countries to build it for you? No. That's one thing I don't want. That's one thing that everybody needs to understand. There's got to be a change. And we got to see this change coming. We don't want just a ceasefire. We want more than what's a ceasefire. We need more than what's a ceasefire. And this is my message to the world on something that I want in the future. A ceasefire is going to bring us to what has happened, and it's going to happen again and again and again. Because if a ceasefire just happens, khalas, it's dead,
Yep.
The whole world, we know what happened to Gaza. This is Gaza. This is the new Gaza. The whole world will understand this is the new Palestine, the new Gaza. Every couple of years, the Israel can do a war. A couple of you will die, and then we'll rebuild it for you, and you can go back to wherever it was. No, not this time. Not this time, my brothers and sisters. This time we got to make a change. Yes, we need a ceasefire, But we need more than a ceasefire. What will change? That's what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. And I think your message is what you're talking about is shown externally, but I think the root of it is actually internal. In order for that to happen, the internal change within each of us has to happen first. So if you found yourself during these past 8 months, you are more proactive, you're more involved, you are advocating for these people in Gaza on a scale that you've never done before, you can't scale that back. Once the ceasefire happens, and it will happen, inshallah, you can't go back to what you were doing before.
Yes.
Because what we were doing before wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't be in this position if
Yeah.
what we were doing before was working. And so the same way, I mean, I go back to that purpose, right? This has opened our eyes in a way that I don't think in my lifetime, at least, we've ever had anything like this to open our eyes and realize what are your real priorities in life? What are you actually trying to achieve? And are you serving the purpose that you're actually here to serve? And we talk about the whole concept of the Caretakers Podcast. That's what we're talking, like that's literally the whole point of this podcast, is the caretakers. You are here to take care of yourself and others and serve people and serve in the way that need to be served. I want to close with, I was going to ask you, what's your message to the world? But you already gave a really good one. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you think people should know?
Yes, there is. I wanted to say something and I kind of forgot, but to continue on my message is that, first of all, I wanted to say, there was one question people asked me here when I was outside of Gaza, because they knew I was able to live outside of Gaza this whole time, and I didn't have to live there for 9 years and open a family, make a family there and provide for my family there. So what they've asked me was this: they're like, "But is it not safe this whole time to stay there?" So they asked me this question. So it was what brought it up. What made me remember is when you said purpose and stuff like that, and to care and to help out. They're like, in Gaza, isn't it not safe to stay there? And they're like, isn't it safer to stay in Canada where people can, have a family, get a future for their kids? And I'm like, what's a future if you have lost your dignity and if you have lost what's inside of you? Because if you came here, khalas, me born as a first generation, and then my kids being here and my kids, grandkids, then there's no way they're going to even remember Gaza, bro, or Palestine or what's been there. They're going to be going with the people that, going with the flow. But I told them this. Do you guarantee your life right now? They were like, what do you mean? I'm like, you asked me that anytime they can die in Gaza. And I tell you this. Do you guarantee your life wherever you are around the world? He's like, he didn't know what to answer. And I'm like, let me give you a short example. If you right now leave your home and you go onto the street, like a car can hit you and you can die. And a thunder, you can drown, swimming, something, playing, choking. What I'm trying to tell him is that life is not in my hand and your hand. Being alive, being alive, death is not in our hand. Death is never in our hands. So that's why thrive and keep doing what is right, because life is short, guys. Life is short. And if you want to take advantage of life, you'll never get anywhere. I'll tell you this. And one last thing I'm going to say is that to the people around the world, the people that have humanity in them, people in Gaza, people in the West Bank, people in Ramallah, people in Jenin, people in Tulkarm, people in Syria or people in Lebanon or wherever these people that Sudan or in Congo will do anything, would pay as much as they can to be in your situation or in your life. Would love to have 10% of what you have. You know what that is? Mm-hmm. 3 things. Being able to wake up safe. That's it, wake up safe. being able to eat and drink, and the last thing is to be able to know that there is a tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that I said that we don't know when death will come, but I did not say that, okay, khalas, death can be tomorrow, everybody, give up. No, that there will be a tomorrow. I will wake up for a tomorrow, because this is what we all have around the world, but the people now in Gaza or the people suffering around the world don't have it. And one last thing is that what Gaza has taught me, Brother Basil, I can do anything. Wallah, I came from Gaza now out. I can do anything. Give me anything, I can do. Like I didn't have this before.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I was studying or learning a new, like a CAD work or something, or like a render, it's hard. How can I do it? How am I going to be able to professional? No. Well, I can do anything. I can be a doctor. I can go back to school right now, study and be a doctor. I can right now open a business, do anything. I can right now make a change. It has taught me, it has built something inside of me. You can do anything, anywhere, anytime. And that's, I say thank you to SOS that have made me stay there for a while. Thank you, Canada, made me stay there for a while to find something in me that I did not know I had, and I would have not had it if I left as soon as I evacuated. That's why I'm gonna say I'm gonna take that for granted. See what I'm gonna take for granted? I'm gonna take that I stayed in Gaza for granted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take that for granted. I'm gonna change that for me as a person. And I'll tell you, I saw this change on my siblings as well. And I saw this change on people of Gaza. And it's now we have to work from there. Inshallah.
Inshallah. This has been an incredible conversation. Thank you. I know it's not easy to talk about what you've experienced. But I hope that people find benefit in it, and that we can continue to do everything in our power to put an end to this and make sure it never happens again.
Inshallah, Ya Rab. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
So something that I usually end with on my lives, or on my lives, usually for the people that are watching, is that I read Surah Al-Fatiha on the people that have died in Gaza, on Ruh al-Shuhada in Gaza, and may Allah grant them Jannah. So if you can all read the Surah Al-Fatiha. May Allah reward them heaven, inshallah, and make their families at ease, inshallah. And Ya Rab, that we do not go in more pain than they have went already. Ya Rab.
Ameen.
Ameen, Ya Allah.